Hey guys, what's up? Nick here once again. It's been quite a while since I've seen this screen right here, and I'm kind of giddy to get into this one. So we're back doing another tier list, but today it's going to be very special. Near and dear to my heart. If you don't know, if you're new to the channel, I speedrun Twisted Metal 3. I've also speedrun a couple other games in the series, and I'm soon to be checking out speedrunning Twisted Metal Black. If you want to be a part of those live streams and check out my process, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the little bell icon so you get notified for every new live stream. I live stream Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Hope to see you there. With that being said, I wanted to do a tier list on all of the vehicles in Twisted Metal 3 from the best to the worst in terms of which characters are the best ones for speedrunning the game. And this doesn't necessarily mean which one is like just the best character in the game by default. I made a whole separate tier list on that in a separate video on this channel if you want to go check that out. This is specifically for which one is better for speedrunning specifically, and also just which one I think is the easiest to kind of pick up and play and get ready to start speedrunning if you ever want to try it with this game. But with that being said, we're going to go left to right here with what we have on the tier list website. And my rankings here are S tier for obviously just the best of the best, which ones are my personal favorites to run with. A tier being really good, pretty much my second tier or second choice. B tier being alright, not terrible, but not the greatest either. C tier being just above okay, but basically just like if you're really bored and you got all your time for every other character, this is the people that I would go with at this point, and not worth your time. I didn't want to give like a D tier or an F tier. It's mainly just, in my personal opinion, these ones are just not worth even attempting to speedrun because they're just that infuriating. So starting out with the Zooter Tooth, aka Sweet Tooth. So Sweet Tooth, in my tier list video for TM3, I put him like basically C tier. He is okay. He's not terrible. He is just mid. The biggest issue with him though is of course his physics. He flips over way too easily, topples over all the time, and it's very frustrating. And you can better believe that is also very frustrating for speedruns. However, there is a part of me that is, I don't know if it makes me a masochist or what, but there is a part of me that really likes trying to speedrun with Sweet Tooth in this game. It's actually kind of fun. And I do have a run. I have the world record currently on this channel in Twisted Metal difficulty on TM3 with Sweet Tooth, and it was a good time. I enjoyed that run. But that being said, would I recommend other people give him a try? I'm going to put him just above not worth your time because, again, there is a part of me that still thinks it's kind of fun to challenge yourself, to try to go against those physics, to go as fast as possible to get to the end. And he has a decent special weapon, and he has good armor. So if you can get past the sluggish handling, the sluggish speed, and of course the flipping over constantly, and get really good at the game, he is a okay character to speedrun with, but it's just kind of frustrating. Next is Flower Power. I am pretty notorious for saying this, and I will still stand by this. I genuinely just don't like this character. I think she's probably one of the worst in the game, and mainly just because her everything is so bad. There's really no redeeming qualities for Flower Power in this game, other than I love the design of her car. I think it looks really cute, and I like her special weapon in the terms of its design, but it does barely any damage. Its homing capabilities are awful. It doesn't regen that quickly. Her speed is mid, her handling is pretty bad, and her armor is not good at all. So in my opinion, she is just not worth your time at all when it comes to speedrunning. Outlaw. Now, Outlaw is an interesting character. I really like playing them normally. However, I am not the one that really usually gravitates towards them for speed runs, but I have seen some pretty crazy runs with Outlaw in the TM3 community. So I personally would probably put them at a B tier, mainly because I think they have pretty decent armor. They have okay speed, okay handling, but the main thing is they have decent armor for a speed run. You're not too weak to the point where you have to stay away from everybody, but you also don't have all the armor in the world, so you got to be a little bit cautious. As well as, I love their special weapon for speedrunning. There's a lot of crowd control within their special weapon by sending people up in the air. You can send them over ledges to fall to their death and stuff like that, which is really useful. And if you stack them up, you can rear attack fire them like crazy to even send people flying out of the game if you're skillful enough. So Outlaw can be a really good choice for speedrunners, but it's going to take a little while to get used to, again, using their special weapon effectively for speedrunning. So that's why I feel like a B tier is a good spot for them. They're not the easiest to jump into, but they are also a lot of fun once you get the hang of them. Next up is Warthog. Now this is a little bit interesting. So Warthog is, in my opinion, one of the best characters in the game, just in terms of their stats. They have insanely good armor, a really good special, okay speed, and then they're just kind of sluggish with their handling. But all around, they're a really good character, and pretty much the one I always tell people to choose as their first time ever playing TM3, because they're going to have the best chance at survival. However, in speedrunning, when it comes to Warthog, I just don't like his sluggish nature. I hate how slow he is. I don't like his handling. It becomes kind of an issue when you try to use strats such as the Hangar 18 jump, where you can actually skip the entire level by jumping up to the teleporter and getting to the lightning attack right away. And this is very tough to do with slow characters such as Warthog. Not only that, but his special weapon is decent, but it takes so long to regen compared to other characters in this game that it really isn't all that useful in my opinion, and it isn't as strong as some other characters that you can choose for speedruns. So for me, I personally would put Warthog at a C tier. I'm not going to completely say he's not worth your time, because again, I think he would be a good starting character for his armor capabilities, and his special weapon is pretty strong when you can use it. But for everything else, it is more of a deter to play as him for speedrunning than it is anybody else. Next up is Club Kid. Now Club Kid, normally I would put them maybe like an A tier. I would never put them at an S tier. However, for speedrunning capabilities, or for speedrunning in general, they are by far one of the best, if not, I know some people would argue, is the best character for speedrunning in TM3. And the main reason for this, if you can master your rear attacks to be able to spam them like crazy, what you do is you use your special weapon, get everybody sucked into one tornado, you go in front of them, you look behind you with the rear view mirror, and you start rear attacking with napalms and mortars. And if you can get direct hits, it is an insanely broken, devastating special weapon where you can literally clear an entire map within seconds. I am not personally very good at this, and that's why he's not my top pick. But if I'm looking at this objectively for speedrunning just in general, Club Kid by far is one of the best speedrunning characters in the game, mainly for his special weapon and the abuse of the rear attack. Not only that, but of course you can use his special weapon to draw in enemies to certain death, in terms of the giant fan on Tokyo, or of course the giant hole on the blimp. You can send anybody to their death almost immediately. So he's basically a life hack if you want to look at it that way. And yeah, so S tier, very easy spot for Club Kid. Next up is Firestarter. I am notorious for hating on Firestarter. He actually ruins most of my speedruns. We literally have a meme on my channel called Firestarter Moment because he is just an asshole. But if you actually play as him, he genuinely is not that bad for speedrunning because he has really good speed, really good handling. His physics aren't too bad, so he doesn't flip over too often. And if you freeze people enough, which you're going to be doing a lot in speedruns, you can use his special properly and thus do a lot of damage. Especially if you do a rear attack with his special weapon, if you have two saved up, it can do a little bit extra damage than it normally would, and that is very helpful in speedrunning. So of course this might come as a big surprise to most of you, but I'm going to put Firestarter in the A tier category. The only reason he's not really S tier for me is because of his armor just being very weak, and his special just isn't that quote-unquote special towards the speedrun. It's just really decent. So yeah, all around, everything like I already said, I think A tier is a perfect spot for him. Moving on to Mr. Grimm. This is a tough one for me because I love Grimm, I love Grimmie, I love all the memes about Grimmie and Sugarfoot, if you want to put it that way, for anybody who's been here on the channel for a while. But Grimmie in TM3 was so shafted. It's obvious at this point. Nobody likes him. He sucks. Everything about him is so bad. His armor is bad. His speed is not that great. His handling's pretty bad. His physics make him flip over like crazy. And his special weapon leaves a lot to be desired. So yeah, it's pretty obvious. Just like Flower Power, not a lot of redeeming qualities here. Sadly, he is just not worth your time. Next up is, oh baby, oh my beloved, Mr. Thumper. Now even before I started speedrunning, Thumper was one of my favorite go-to characters in the game regardless, because he kind of flew under the radar for being a little bit broken in my opinion. His special weapon is so damn strong. If you get the entire shockwave on somebody before they go flying away, or if you get him stuck in a corner, it is by far one of the strongest specials in the game as a normal character. Not only that, but he has a lot of armor for no reason whatsoever. He's really quick, and he has good handling, and because of the flat nature of his vehicle, he doesn't flip over very easily. and you can actually scoop up other vehicles to flip them over easier. So in general, Thumper is by far my favorite character for speedrunning in TM3, and another really solid pick in my opinion if you're brand new to speedrunning to try it out for the first time, because you're going to have a lot of armor to use at your disposal, you can flip other characters over pretty easily, and you can get away from danger without much of an issue. You can't really do any of that with Club Kid, but the fact that they're both an S tier is mainly just if you utilize their special weapons correctly, you can get the best speeds possible in this game at this moment. Next up is Minion, aka Onion. That's another inside joke on the channel, but Minion over here, the reason he is in this list, normally I would remove boss characters from any type of my tier lists for many reasons, but this reason I'm keeping him here is because there is a category specifically for playing as him in Twist Metal 3. And I mean, Minion is Minion. He's pretty broken. Obviously, he's got one of the best specials, if not the best special in the game. He's really strong, really fast, and great handling. However, one big issue with Minion, and I've always said this with TM3 characters, the bigger they are, for some reason, the more helium they're filled with. I don't know what it is with the physics of these games. It's hilarious every time, but it's frustrating to no end when you're playing as them. And this is no different for playing as Minion, especially for speedrunning. So normally I probably would have just threw him into S tier because it's Minion, he's a boss character and he's really broken. But I'm actually going to move him down to A tier, mainly just because of the facts that he flips over like crazy. And if somebody uses a power missile on you or rams you, you just go flying, and it's super frustrating and it ruins a lot of the runs. So I'm going to put him at A tier, even though I understand a lot of people could probably argue that he deserves S tier because he's, again, one of the fastest characters to run with in the game. But the fact that he has his own category specifically for that character, which separates him from everybody else, giving him a little bit of an unfair advantage in my opinion, and also because of the fact that it's just frustrating with the physics of this character, that I'm going to just leave him at A. And next is Roadkill. Roadkill is a sleeper just like Thumper in my humble opinion. I think he is an underrated vehicle, if not the most underrated car in the game. I think he has really decent armor, a little weaker than Thumper ironically, even though he definitely shouldn't be. He's still about the same amount of speed as Thumper, same amount of handling, and he's just as flat, so his physics are just as good. I know I have heard arguments from people saying his physics are pretty bad and he can flip over super easily. Personally, I've never felt that with Roadkill. I've always enjoyed playing as him, and I feel like he feels like a really decent car to handle. So with all that, I'd say that alone is reasons for him to at least be at the A tier in speedrunning. But not only that, but his special weapon is pretty much a free mortar. And if you're new to speedrunning, basically mortars and napalms are going to be your best friends in most speedruns, because you're going to be running up to characters very up close, freezing them, ramming them, and then spamming them with those two weapons. And with Roadkill, it's super convenient having that extra mortar essentially as your special weapon. And it does a little bit more damage with direct hits compared to mortars. The only downside though is you do take that damage yourself, and you'll end up accidentally killing yourself a lot as Roadkill if you're not paying attention to your health. And in speedruns, it's kind of tough to do that sometimes. So I can understand why some people might be frustrated with this character and not be a first line pick. But because of all the other positive attributes I gave him, I'm going to leave him in the A tier category for most speedruns. Mainly again, because he's very quick, he's agile, he's got decent physics, good armor, and essentially his special weapon is just an extra mortar that's always on you. And next up is Axel. Oh man, another character just like Grimmie who completely got shafted for absolutely no reason. He just got nerfed to the ground before this game came out, and I don't know why. He doesn't feel strong, he doesn't feel fast, he's not nimble, and his special weapon is pretty useless. Yes, it has good crowd control just like Outlaw's, but it doesn't have the range that Outlaw's does, and it doesn't do as much damage. Not only that, but of course, like I said, he's not very strong. I think he has less armor than Outlaw in this game. He's not as fast as Outlaw, and he doesn't nearly have as good handling. So all around, I feel Axel is probably one of the weakest characters in the game, let alone not a good choice for speedrunning. And that's just putting it lightly. I know some people might disagree with me on this and probably put him in C tier, but for me personally, I'm going to put him in not worth your time. He's just not fun at all to run. He's more of a hindrance than anything and very annoying. And moving on to Spectre. I've been notorious for saying this as well, and I still stand by it. Spectre is the best designed Spectre in any game in the entire series. I love the Dodge Viper look. Yes, it might be generic, but goddamn it fits him so perfectly. And not only that, but in the game, he is the fastest vehicle in the game by far, the most nimble. and he feels great to drive. I love the feeling of Spectre in TM3. His handling is perfect, his speed again is very good. The only real downside to him is that his special doesn't do as much damage as I really think it should, and that his armor, of course, is very weak. So you pretty much have to completely change up your playstyle to run as Spectre in order to get a good, decent time. Now, ironically, Spectre is my second fastest time I've ever recorded in TM3 next to my Thumper run, which is my current PB. The reason I got that time with Spectre was because I decided, instead of doing my normal routine of running up to characters, freezing them, using napalms and mortars like crazy, and doing a ton of damage, I was a little bit more reserved, standing back away from people and doing long shots, hitting people with the same weapons. Now, obviously, this is way more difficult to do, takes a lot more practice, but once you can do it properly and you've learned the distance you need to be to get a direct hit with a napalm, you can do just as much damage as you can by just ramming them normally and being up close to them. And of course, the benefit of Spectre is at any range you can use a special weapon and get somebody who's maybe running for a health or something like that, which is always annoying in TM3. So there's a lot of benefits to him, but of course, it's at the cost of a much bigger skill gap. So in my opinion, I'm going to put Spectre at B tier. I don't think he's necessarily that bad. I would love to put him at A tier at least, because I personally love running with him, but I'm going to put him at B because objectively he has a much higher skill gap than any of the people above him on this list, and he can be pretty frustrating with his lack of armor. Moving on to, yep, Hammerhead. Another character that, once again, just like Axel, Flower Power, and Grimmie, got completely shafted in this game, and they deserved a lot better. They really did. I love the idea of Granny Dread. I think it's a hilarious character, and I love the design of the vehicle. I like the idea of the special weapon not just being the regular, oh, you run them over like a monster truck, but you fly at them and ram them. I always thought that was really funny, and I think it could have worked if it wasn't for how the physics in this game work. It becomes a frustration more than anything. Her special is not strong enough, and you end up just flipping yourself over, thus losing a ton of time no matter what you try and do. So I'm pretty sure you can see where this is going. Hammerhead is 1000% just not worth your time. Just 100% stay away. And the last, but certainly not least, I know a lot of people have been waiting for this one. What do I think of Augur in speedruns? So originally, Augur would have been on my not worth your time list. I would have 100% put him there. However, I am going to put him at A tier. I know. This is shocking. This is probably like everyone's screaming and thumbsing down this video and saying I'm a fraud and not believing me whatsoever. But hear me out on this. Hear me out. I am not in any way, shape, or form going to sit here and tell you can probably get a world record time with Augur. I'm not going to say he's going to beat Club Kid or Thumper any day of the week in terms of getting a faster time. However, there is one major thing in this game that makes Augur a menace to play as, but also to get really good speedruns. That is the rear attack glitch. A lot of people don't realize this, but there is a glitch in TM3 where if somebody is on your drill, if you're using your special on somebody or drilling them currently, any weapon that you rear attack while they're on your drill will actually hit that person that's in your drill, doing an insane amount of damage. And this also really helps because you have a ton of armor as Augur, so you can just continuously rear attack on the fly and basically one-hit kill anybody that gets in your drill, as long as you're fast enough and have the skills for it. It's super satisfying, it's very fun, and it makes runs very interesting because at that point, it's 1000% skill-based and not just muscle memory at that point. So that's why I like running as Augur. Now, obviously, the biggest downside to him is his speed and handling. He is just by far the most sluggish character in the game and very frustrating in certain situations. Coming back to Hangar 18 jump, it's almost impossible to do it. Yes, we have done it before. It is possible, but again, it's just very frustrating. So if there ever comes a time where we can perfect that jump on Hangar 18 right away with Augur, I think he probably could potentially get a world record run with that rear attack glitch. But until that, I'm going to put him at the A tier for now because he is just a lot of fun to run with regardless of how you look at Augur. And again, his super high level of armor make him a force to be reckoned with. And even if his speed and handling bring him down a couple notches. So with that, this is my definitive list or tier list for speedrunning in TM3. My S tier, all the way down to not worth your time. What do you guys think? Let me know your list in the comment section below. Maybe you're a speedrunner yourself, or maybe you've just been watching the speedruns. What are your opinions on what you think are the best vehicles for running in TM3? Let me know. I would love to hear your guys' thoughts and opinions, because as you all know, this is just my thoughts and opinions, and they do not matter. I just like to show them to the world. If you don't agree, that's totally fine. So with that, make sure to leave a like, share, support as always. Subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Hopefully see you in the next one. Peace out.